Welcome back to Virginia This Morning. What are some of the hot jobs for 2021? If you were to guess, what would your top three answers be? Well, in this next segment, Jessica recently spoke with the district president at Robert Half about this, and here's what he had to say.
We've turned the calendar page into a new year. 2021 ushers in so many new changes. And one of the big hot topics this year will be hiring, the outlook, and what jobs are hot. We're joined today by Lindo Gharib, district president at Robert Half. It's great to see you, Lindo.
Hi, Jessica. Great to be back.
I feel like we could just have days worth of conversations on how all of this has changed and looks and what's to come. We're going to focus in right now on a conversation about the hot jobs of 2021 and what that outlook is focused on.
Yeah, it's interesting. You're right. I mean, the hiring landscape has really changed a lot in the last year. But as we go into 2021, the good news, especially in the professional sector, 51% of companies are planning to add to staff this year. And large part of is because so many companies had to cut back due to the pandemic in 2020, but certain roles are looking to get added in 2021. From the areas where we concentrate, we're seeing a good spike in movement in hiring in accounting and finance, as well as the IT field and the administrative and customer service arena.
A lot of great areas to focus on. And of course, we're sharing some of those specific job titles in that area. If you find yourself in a position where you've been working in a certain field and it's closely tethered to what we're seeing in terms of these job titles and job functions, there's a lot of legwork to do to bridge that gap. How do you present yourself in the best light as you're trying to make that connection? Because 51% of companies making hires seems pretty optimistic to me.
Yeah, you're right. That is optimistic. And I think for job seekers, it's really important for them to assess, what skills do they have that align with these areas that are in demand. For example, in accounting and finance, we're seeing, a spike in needs in the AP and AR arenas, needs at the staff and senior accountant level, as well as the financial analyst level. So, a job seeker needs to really take a look at, what experience do they have in those areas and how do they best showcase those skills. We tell candidates in today's world, networking online is increasingly important. So you have to really look at what does your online footprint, look like these days. Have you updated it? Is all the information current? And are you using sites like LinkedIn to network with other professionals in that area, as well as doing some job searches to see what are the hottest jobs that are in demand where you live, and what are the skills needed for those jobs?
That makes sense. And I would imagine that companies, while that outlook is optimistic and many of them are planning on hiring, they've got a heavy task in front of them too, in terms of finding the right talent. And is that competitive right now? There are a lot of job seekers. So how are companies making sure they're finding the right fit?
Yeah, companies have had to adapt as well. One of the things that we've seen in the past year is a lot more roles at the professional level are becoming remote. So for companies to really be competitive in the market today, they have to really consider, remote jobs and how many are they offering in that regards. Employees want the flexibility with all the responsibilities that they have, not only from a personal perspective, but as well as a professional perspective. But from an employer standpoint, it also behooves the employer to move more jobs remotely because it broadens your spectrum of candidates. So candidates no longer necessarily have to, live within 20, 30 miles of the office where they're working. They can live anywhere. And that's definitely a big advantage for employers to be able to cast a much wider net. The other things employers have to think about in today's world is what does their interview process look like? And for them to truly be competitive, they've got to accelerate that process with maybe less steps and a lot more, via video versus in person. And then the other thing is, what does the compensation look like? It's important today for employers to really research what are the compensation trends in those areas that have more demand and come to the table with the best offer.
It really is a different way to go into the space and type in a job title and then say United States or remote rather than typing. It's a whole new world. You mentioned making sure, Lindo, that you have that online presence, that your LinkedIn profile or whatever professional site that you're using is current, is up to date. What other tips is Robert Half recommending to make sure that potential employees are ready, set, go?
Yeah, we're also telling candidates in today's world, make sure you're researching positions outside of your immediate area or where you live, because again, there's a lot more remote opportunities that are available to employees. The other piece I would encourage folks to always do is connect with a recruiter. We have access to a lot of positions that are not necessarily advertised in other places. And in today's world, where it's still uncertain from an economic perspective, a lot of employers don't necessarily want to, add to their full-time headcount. So this is where they look to bring in project professionals from companies like Robert Half, where they can still help them get the work done, but it's a cost saving to that employer because it's not adding to their fixed costs.
It definitely is a huge change, but the idea that they are expanding, employers are prepared to expand in this next year, and to make yourself ready for it is key. Working with a recruiter really can be a game changer.
It really can. I mean, they're going to give you a lot of tips. They're going to give you a lot of insights into, companies that you may not know a lot about, and they're going to give you access to positions that you may not, normally have access to. We're working with a number of clients in today's world where they're just looking to bring in people on a contract basis, and so they have extra workloads because of what's happening in the world. We're seeing a lot of demand right now because of all the PPP stimulus, because of mortgage rates being lower. So we have clients that need additional help to process all these applications and all this extra work. But the best way for them to do it is to bring on contract professionals right now.
Lindo Gharib, great insight. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure too. We will post information so that everybody watching today can learn more about Robert Half and discover these next steps that you've shared. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jessica.
Jessica, that was a really interesting and encouraging conversation for folks who maybe have been out of work for a while, or someone who's just wanting to switch things up for 2021.
It's, I really always enjoy talking with Lindo. He provides such a great perspective on all of it. He's plugged into it, so he knows. I was really encouraged to hear that 51% of companies, according to their survey, did have intentions on hiring talent this year. I know a lot of folks who found themselves in out of work in a different situation in 2020 are incredibly anxious, and it's tough, but I feel like Lindo was encouraging in terms of some helpful suggestions.
He really was, and a good reminder there to look at your online footprint and using the internet to network. It's something that I think many of us have LinkedIn pages, but maybe don't really use them as much as some of our other social media. So that was a good reminder there. And thinking about what kinds of skills you have that maybe cross over to something else. So it was interesting to hear, sort of his take on what job seekers should be thinking about right now.
And I think while it is incredibly challenging to get motivated while you're searching, and looking for that right fit, your next move, it really is important to try continuing education, find these certifications, and really maybe take a little bit of a step in that direction you always wanted to head, to see, as he's suggesting, if that aligns with where you are, or you could head in that direction. It could be incredibly motivating.
No time like the present, right? Might as well get right to it.
It's true. And for everybody on the hunt, we are thinking of you. It will come together. I'm glad to hear the 51% will be hiring. Well, stay with us. We will be right back with more Virginia This Morning.